Hello students, welcome to the answer writing program. So today we will be discussing 3 questions from GS3 economy from this topic, inclusive growth and issues arising from it. Let's take an overview of all the 3 questions. First question is related to demographic dividend. Second question is related to impact of globalization on economic growth, and the third question is related to the issues of informalization of Indian economy. Let's start with the very first question. Can the demographic dividend of India become a demographic curse in future? So the question is asking, can it become? You need to justify your answer. If you are in the favor that yes, it is and it can become the demographic curse, then you need to write how it can become. You need to write some arguments in the favor of that what are the different dimensions that if these measures will not be taken, then this demographic dividend can become the demographic curse. So with respect to the introduction, what you can write? For that, first we need to understand what is demographic dividend and what is demographic curse. Demographic dividend, the term itself implies, means the dividend we can reap out of this demography. Dividend means some benefits. It means the economic growth potential, what we can reap out of the demography, out of the population. If the population is skilled, if they can be employable, so that we can reap the maximum economic outputs and the economic benefits. In the terms of, we can measure GDP also. And if will not be reaping the benefits out of these demography, then this increasing population can become the burden and it will not reap the benefits into the GDP. Instead, they become the liability on the government, on the country. So we need to write some arguments how it can become. For that, in introduction, what you can do? So you can write the definition. Now you can write the definition with respect to the demographic dividend. When is the demographic will reap some dividends? When the working age population will be more than the dependent population. Means the working age population which are in age of 15 to 64 years of age group, they are more than the dependent population. It means the like children who are less than of the 15 years and the old age people more than 64 years. So when people in the earning mode, whosoever are generating the income for the economic growth, they are more, and the people who relies or who depends on these working population is less. So this is the age for the demographic dividend. Now what you can write? You can write some data with respect to India. So India has already entered in this particular age frame in 2010. In 2010, India has already entered into this phase, and India will be in this particular demographic dividend range only till 2056. So now this is the time we can reap the maximum benefit out of this increasing population. After that, this working age population as compared to the dependent population will reduce. So we cannot then take the maximum economic output from this working age population. Instead, the liability will be increased. So you can write some data with respect to that. Like 55% is there in the working age population is approximately 55%, and it will be taken as a peak to 58% in 2032. After that, it will start decreasing. It will be like maximum 51 to 54% till 2056. After that, the dependent population will increase. So now this is the window time frame where we can reap the maximum output or benefits out of this demography. But how we can reap the maximum output from this demography? When this demography is skilled, when they have the skills which the market is demanding, it means they are employable. And first thing is when they are employable, and second is when there are maximum economic opportunities for that particular skill as well. When the economic growth is dependent on the employment abilities, and when when any country provides the opportunities of employment. So this is about the demographic dividend. So what you can write in the first body part? You can write some economic potential with respect to demographic dividend in India. So what are their potential impact on growth? Like if we can use them productively, efficiently, optimally, then they can reap the economic growth. Like if in the proper utilization, they can reap the benefits in terms of GDP, like from $3 trillion to $9 trillion we can achieve till 2030. Next is about till 2047 we can achieve our GDP to the range of like approximately $40 trillion. But again, there is a need for the productive utilization of this demography, of this population. We need to be emphasizing on the skilling, reskilling and the job creation. When there are enough employment opportunities only, then that particular person can be employed in any sector. First thing is employment opportunities should be there. Second is about when the opportunities are there but people are not employable. It means we need to skill and reskill according to the demand of the market. Second thing, and third thing is about we need to take the proactive measures so that we will take the benefits out of this demography as a demographic advantage, not as a demographic curse. Okay, then moving on to the main body part, that we need to write the challenges with respect to demographic dividend. Very first thing is about, like, we need to write how this demographic dividend can become demographic curse. So we need to write how this can become. How this can become? If proper skilling is not there, if poor skilling is there, if no employment opportunities are there, if the dependency ratio will increase, if the health opportunities, health benefits are not there, that directly hampers the education and the career prospects in the future. How demography dividend can become demographic curse? If there will not be a proper shift from the primary sector to the tertiary and the secondary sector. So let's see with respect to examples as well. So if poor skilling would be there, if appropriate skillings according to the demand of the market is not provided, then it will result into the demographic curse. So we have already come up with some Skill India initiative, like National Skill Mission, Skill India initiative, National Qualitative Framework for Skill Development, but still we are lagging behind in the skill development. Out of 5 people, only 1 person is skilled according to the HDR report 2020. See, now in the UPSC mains examination, what you can do? You can write some subheading. If you have some argument in front of that, then is okay. Otherwise, you need to substantiate your sub point with respect to examples. As many data, case studies, example as you put more in your mains examination, you will fetch more marks. So again, you can collect the fodder from these mains answers discussions. So in the poor skilling, you can write this data according to HDR 2020. 1 out of 5 people is only skilled. So next is about unemployment. Unemployment in the range age year of 20 to 24 years of age, approximately 24% are still looking for jobs, means they are not getting jobs. Then comes the dependency ratio. With time, the dependency ratio will increase. So we need to take care of that as well, because the old age dependency ratio is expected to rise to 35% from current 19% by 2050. So we need to take care of this as well, and before that time we need to take the maximum benefits out of this demographic dividend. Next is about poor health services, poor health infrastructure that affects the education and the career prospects for the future. Like, you can quote some example with respect to the health. 35.5% of the children are stunted. Approximately 57% of the women in the in this age group is anemic. So this is the data according to the National Family Health Survey 5th. Next is about we need to shift from the primary sector to the secondary and the tertiary sector. Because in the primary sector, in the agricultural and the allied activities, there is a huge disguised unemployment as well. So we need to take those people out of the agriculture sector, or we can say about the primary sector, and move them to the secondary and the tertiary sector by providing skills. But we have seen that according to periodic labor force survey, the farm sector share in the employment is approximately 45.5%, nearby 50% only. And its GDP is very minimal in the total GDP. But the people dependent on agriculture is this much. So again, it's a matter of challenges, or there are the issues concerned with this thing as well. So we have seen that how these can become the demographic curves. So what we need to do, you can write in the conclusion about some recommendations, that access to healthcare, quality education, good skilling capabilities, productive employment opportunities should be provided to the people. And we need to focus on 3 E's. E's means education. We need to provide them qualitative and good education to the maximum people. So we need to focus on the qualitative and quantitative measures. With respect to employment, we need to create more employment facilities so that people will not be unemployed, whosoever are looking for the job, so they get proper employment opportunities as well. And when they will be get employed in the particular sector, when they have the good employable skills, means again we need to provide them skills so that their employability will increase. So we need to focus on 3 E's: education, employment and employability. This way our first question is done. Let's see the model answer. Starting with some data, how India has entered, when India has entered and till when it will be there, demographic dividend. Then how it can become, means we are writing the reasons for that, arguments for that. Then coming on to the conclusion. Moving on to the next question. Analyze the impact of globalization on inclusive growth. Suggest some measures to achieve inclusive growth in the face of globalization. So first we need to analyze. It means we need to write some positives, some negatives of globalization on inclusive growth, some negatives. And the second part is about some measures we need to write to achieve inclusive growth in the era of globalization. So these are the 2 demands, and we can segregate into the 3 subparts. Like first is positives, negatives and the measures. Starting with the introduction, what you can write in the introduction about the globalization, definition of globalization, definition of inclusive growth and interconnectedness between these 2 things. So what is globalization? Globalization means whole globe as one. It means one market, one globe, one world, etc. Like interconnectedness of the national economies through trade. We are connecting the global economies through trade, through finance and through investments. As we have seen in India in 1991 LPG reforms. Liberalized our economy, we privatized some parts of economy and we globalized our Indian economy with the other parts of the world. Then coming on to the inclusive growth. Growth that is inclusive in nature. Inclusive means that the benefits of the economic growth or the development will reach to all the segments of the society, irrespective of the gender, irrespective of the areas like urban, rural, irrespective of the age, irrespective of the caste. So this is inclusive growth, means ensuring all the segments of the society the benefits from economic growth. So we can connect some interlinkages between these 2 as well, that yes, globalization has done some goods with respect to taking people out of poverty, with respect to equality, with respect to accessing to the global market, but there are again some negative impacts with respect to like inequalities, with respect to urban-rural divide, with respect to some trade, unfair competition. So we will see all those in our main body part. So this is the introduction. Moving on to the first part of the body, writing about the positive impacts of globalization on inclusive growth. So the very first thing is about economic growth. That yes, globalization has boosted the economic growth. Globalization means we are opening our borders or the economies to the global world. It means we can now, earlier it was, earlier Indian market is this much only. Now the Indian market has opened to the whole world. It means whatever we are producing, we can sell it anywhere. But again, there are some restrictions, but the globalization means this thing only. Means expanding the reach of market. And when the trade is boosted, it stimulates the economic growth. So yes, the positive impact of the globalization is economic growth. With this, we have increased FDIs, we have increased exports. You can write again some data with respect to average GDP growth, that it has seen a good rise in that. And according to World Bank, a reduction in poverty in India was also there, approximately from 44% to 28%. Then comes to the job creation. Again, job creation in the export-led sectors, in IT sectors. So again, you can put some example with respect to this, like 4.5 million employed in IT, business process management industry in 2022. Then comes the technology transfer. When we integrate our economy towards a global economy, then FDI comes in. With FDI, expertise, specializations, new technological advancements, new finances, new resources also comes in. So it boosts the economic growth, and also it helps in advancing the technology of India as well. Like you can quote some examples with respect to the new agricultural practices from Israel. You can also quote some examples with respect to new technological advancement with respect to the pharmaceutical, with respect to the medical aids and the devices, robotics, transport, e-vehicles, agriculture, aerospace, that India has advanced in these particular technologies with the help of globalization only. Next comes to about improved living standards. With the more accessibility and availability to the global standard, like take an example of clothing, food habits. So all these things have improvised the living standards as well. We access now more qualitative and the quantitative goods and services. Like you can give some example with respect to the mobile phone revolution, internet revolution, etc. Coming on to the negative impacts of the globalization. Now, there are some attached negatives of the globalization with respect to inclusive growth. How? The impacts or the positives, the benefits out of the globalization has reached only to some sectors, only to few people. So, this growth or the concentration of growth was there maximum in the urban sectors only, and that to specific sector. According to Oxfam, the richest 1% of the India is holding 20% of the wealth. So again, there is some concentration of the wealth happened. The benefits out of this globalization has reached only to the very few people, only to the very few sectors. So again, there are the disparities amongst the various sectors of the economy. Next is about the job displacement. With coming into the new technologies, with integrating the Indian economy to the supply chain, global supply chain, more and more automation, more and more mechanization, more and more to the service sector. We have already skipped to the service sector directly. So this has resulted into the job losses. And also, with increased competition to the global market, with very cheaper imports, like for example Bangladesh, Vietnam, China, again our market faced very high competition from the cheaper imports as well. So this results into the job losses in the traditional sectors. You can again quote some example with respect to that International Labour Organization has estimated that 23 million jobs will be lost to automation by 2030. Now it's the era of artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. So again, if will not take our standards high in the manufacturing sector, in the tertiary sector, according to the global standards, again there will be the loss of the jobs. So we need to skill them. We need to skill our labor force so that they can withstand with these new technological advancements. Next is about exploitation of the labor with new economic standards, so that we have to export more. So whatever the employees were there in the export oriented markets, there were the exploitation of the labor over there. No minimum wages codes were being accepted over there. High and the long working hours would be there. So these are some exploitation of the labor with respect to the export oriented industries. Next is about the environmental concerns. Again, with the era of the globalization, we focus more and more of the GDP improvement, more and more of the economic development only, economic growth. Why? And we were ignoring the environmental concerns for that. So yes, we focused on the unsustainable economic practices, unsustainable environmental practices. So this resulted into the environmental degradation. You can again quote some example with respect to India, that India's emissions of coal or emissions of the carbon dioxide is one amongst the highest globally. Moving on to the second major demand of the question is about the measures for inclusive growth, that what we need to take more measures for this inclusive growth. Very first thing is again skill development, because now it's the time of artificial intelligence, machine learning, space economy, as we have discussed in the earlier classes as well, that if India wants to integrate itself with the global supply chain, then India has to advance its capabilities. India has to increase its manufacturing base, and that too at the proper level with the international standards, so that they can also take benefits out of these new technological advancements. Whatever the changes are there in the international market, India can withstand that. So India needs to do the skill development very promptly and very aggressively. Also, India has already come up with this Skill India initiative, but still there are some challenges in the quality and the relevance. Whatever they provide the training, are they even relevant whatever the current market demands? No. So we need to aggressively change the policies with respect to the changing demands of the society. Next is about social safety nets. India is providing some social security nets so as to protect these people from the negative impact of the globalization, so as to promote the inclusive growth. So we have come up with Manrega, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, etc., but still concerns are there for their coverage and effectiveness. Then we need to focus on rural development, because we have already discussed that how globalization impacted more in a positive manner in the urban areas and very few urban patches also. So because this rural areas were left over, so we need to focus on rural areas for their development. That is why we can attain this inclusive development concept. So we need to focus on the rural development. What we can do? We can boost their economy. We can invest in the infrastructural advancements over there. So we need to decentralize the industrial projections over there. Like we can more and more focus on the food processing industries. When the food processing industries will come over there, the roads will be there, all weather roads will be generated over there, then business developments would be there, then investments would be there. So just with the establishment of food processing industries, we can give the boost or the promptness to the rural development. Also, we can focus on the education, healthcare, and more on the physical and the human and financial infrastructure over there. Next is about we need to boost the sustainable practices to attain the economic development. Like we need to promote environmentally friendly consumption as well as the production processes. We need to implement the challenges with respect to National Action Plan for Climate Change. Although India is already doing, like a national solar mission is there, national water mission is there, like secure Himalayas, secure ecosystem is there, but still we are lagging behind in some of the objectives. Next is about trade fair practices. Like we need to boost the fair trade practices. Like if we take an example of WTO, due to the new protectionism measures, due to the trade tariff, non-tariff embargoes, etc. are there in the international market. due to this negative impacts of these globalization, due to this unfair trade practices, again we cannot achieve inclusive growth in India. So we need to prompt for fair trade practices. We need to ensure that whatever we are doing, the trade agreements, that would be fair. We need to protect our labor. We need to protect our labor rights. So again, there are some concerns that this is not happening in the good way. So these way you can write the measures, what we can do, what still lags, and what we can more do. In conclusion, we can write the summary that globalization has both positive and the negative impacts. We need to embrace the innovation, we need to foster the inclusivity and prioritize the sustainability. So these are some keys to inclusive growth in the globalized world. So moving on to the model answer starting with the definition of globalization and inclusive growth, then positive impacts of globalization on inclusive, then followed by negative impacts, then measures, finally coming up with the conclusion. Okay, so moving on to the third question. On India's path to becoming the third largest economy in the world by 2027, increasing informalization of the labor force acts as a major roadblock. So what this context is saying, that India will become third largest economy by 2027, but this informalization of labor force, this increasing informalization of labor force is putting a challenge on that. So this is the context set in the this particular question. We need to discuss the issues of the informalization of Indian economy and provide suggestive measures. So how this informalization of Indian economy hampers the economic growth. We need to write these issues and we need to provide some suggestive measures as well, that how we can formalize our economy. So this would be the first particular demand, this would be the second demand. So let's start with the introduction. In introduction, you can write about some definitions, that what is the informal economy, and you can also put forward some data or the examples that how much of the labor force employees are there in the informal sector. So definition, according to periodic labor force survey, private enterprises with less than 10 employees in that enterprises and they do not provide any social security, that is an informal part of the economy. And to substantiate your point that there is an increasing informalization of the labor force, you can give this data that 90% of the India's labor force is in informal economy, or they are the informal labor force. And these informal labor force contribute to around 50% of the GDP. Okay, so this is the data you can put in your introduction. But the question is about how this increasing informalization of the labor force puts a roadblock in the economic development. Like, what is this informalization of Indian economy? Like, informal sector, they operates outside the purview of the government. They are outside the purview of the government and its regulations, which leads to the tax evasion, which leads to the labor exploitation and substandard product manufacturing, and also the productivity is less. So this leads to the very less inputs to the governmental revenues also. There are the shortfall in the government revenues because they do not submit the taxes also. The very first thing is this, and due to this non-submission of the taxes to the government, this deprives the government to provide some new welfare schemes to the people for the public welfare, for the infrastructural development. Second thing, the third thing is about with this informalization of economy means they are not under the ambit of the formal credit access. It means they cannot get the formal credit, which hampers their productivity. They cannot innovate more, they cannot expand their reach. Again, puts the bar on the economic development of this particular sector. And also, lastly, the fourth point is about the informal sector of the economy. They do not provide the good condition or the enabling ecosystem for their employees. There are not appropriate following of the labor codes, wages codes. They do not provide the good environmental conditions for their labor. This hampers their health conditions and putting again into the poverty trap, which leads to the bar or the hampering in the sustainable economic growth. So this is how the informalization of economy put a bar or the challenges to the economic growth. So this is the particular question we need to write down in the detail. So for that, you need to know about what are the informal sector issues, that low job security, again poor working condition, lack of governmental control, low productivity, low social security, low paid jobs, which we have already discussed right now. Coming on to the body part, we need to write the challenges with respect to informalization, with respect to economic growth. But before than that, you should know about the status of informalization. This is the data. You can go through this data, that approximately 94% of whatever people are there, whosoever are registered on eShram portal, they have monthly income of 10,000 or below. First. Second is about the 52% of the informal workers that are enrolled in the agriculture sector, while more than half of the workers are female. It means again the informal sector economy is more diverted towards again the agricultural economy only, and the GDP's share, agriculture GDP share in the total GDP is less. But again 52% of the informal workers are still employed over there, and more than half of these 52% are women. So feminization of agriculture, again disproportionate impact of any of the issue with respect to climate change, with respect to low economic growth would be there on females. Next is about 75% of the informal workers are self-employed, and casual wage workers with the average earning is very low than the regular salaried workers. So there are some issues with respect to their earnings, with respect to their status in this sector. Next is about why there are increasing informalization. Because huge job loss during pandemic, excessive state regulations are there, like the stringent laws are there, wage codes is there, code on labor is there. So to avoid all this following of the labor codes, wage code, the enterprises, the private sector, private enterprises, they avoid all these codes and just stay out of this formalization of the Indian economy. Due to huge taxation, due to state regulation, and to avoid all these things, they remains outside this regulatory ambit. Next is about, which is the very major concern, that there are lack of job opportunities, there are the shortfall of job opportunities. So the formal sector jobs are reducing, so people do not have any stance to do over there, so they are engaging into the informal sector. They are coming with their small businesses, like the street vendors only, you can take an example. So this way, these are the reasons for the increasing informalization. Coming on to the major body part, we need to write down the challenges of informalization in India. So the very first part is about the poor capital augmentation. Let's take an example that mostly informal sector firms in India are the micro-sized. Micro-sized means the government has put the bar that the investment should not be more than 1 crore and the turnover should not be more than 5 crore. Otherwise, you will come into the ambit of the major sectors of the economy, or like not the micro enterprises, you will not be registered. You need to upgrade yourself, so that you need to deposit or submit more taxes. So to just stay within the ambit of this micro enterprises, so that to remain outside of the strict governmental regulations and the stringent rules and laws, they do not augment their capital. They do not put more and more investment into their enterprises. So this leads to the substandard quality production, whatever they are producing, because they are not investing in the good amount through human resources, through financial resources, through economic other resources, not even the good technology. So whatever they produce, they are of the substandard quality. Again, if there will be the substandard economy, they cannot export. Their demand of those products will be not very high. You can give example of Adibas, Puma shoes, etc. So coming to the second point, poor integration with the global value chain. Now these micro enterprises are producing the substandard value products. They cannot withstand in the global market. After globalization, India has integrated with the global supply chain, but their standards with respect to the human, with respect to technology, they are very high. So the marketing, first the marketing issue is there. India is not doing the good marketing of their products. Second is whatever the substandard products they are making, this informal sector, they cannot withstand in the global value chain. So this narrows the market opportunities for these products. Moving on to the third point, that is the lack of access to the formal credit. So now this informal sector of the economy, informal sector, they are not under the ambit of the formal credits, so they cannot get credit in a good, like a huge investment point of view, so that they cannot do much of the investment in their businesses or in their enterprises. So this hampers the innovation, this hampers the expanding their reach of the market. So this is the issue with respect to the lack of access to the formal credit. Next is about the global competition. Again, these micro enterprises or whatever the private enterprises are there in the informal sector, they have to face a brunt of the global market, global competition, cheap imports from China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and also with their products as a substandard quality, again their competition is very loose then. Next is about gender disparity. Also, we have already seen that informal sector, 50% are there in the agriculture, and more than that, 50% of the informal sector are like for the women. So any brunt of this negative impacts of the informal sector, they has to faced by the women. Also, women are employed in the low paying jobs. So this hinders the workforce participation. We have already seen that the women participation rate, due to the loss of opportunities in the formal sector and due to the very bad environmental conditions in the informal sector, female labor force participation has decreased in 2022-23. Next is about socio-economic exploitation of the laborers. Due to non-accessibility or not enforcement of the labor laws, wages laws, etc. on these informal sector, so this worker has to face for the longer hours, low pay, inadequate job security, etc. And also we have witnessed that there are the child and the forced labors are also prevalent in this informal market. Next is about government bottleneck. As we have discussed that this is not much under the ambit of the labor code, minimum wages code, etc. So the limited efficiency of the labor code are there in this informal sector. And also as the labor is in the concurrent list, so state government can refuse any of the job, as like there is a minimum wage criteria, minimum wages codes are there. In that there are the jobs written over there that we have to provide minimum wages for the jobs. But what state government can do? State government can refuse to provide this particular job under this minimum wage code. So this can take some jobs out or will not include some jobs into the minimum wages code. So again, this provide or this creates the issues onto the people that are involved in that particular job in the informal sector. Next is about steps taken. We need to provide some measures that how we can improve this condition. For that, what you can do, you can write the some steps that are already being taken by the government of India, like Pradhan Mantri Employment Guarantee Program, Lakhpati Didi Scheme, Atmanirbhar Bharat, new labor codes are there, E-Shram portal is there, so PM Swanidhi scheme is there. So you can integrate all these examples that yes, government is doing this, but still there are some challenges what we need to do more. So these are the steps already taken by government, but what we can do is this. So you can write into the way forward that we need to create the jobs for the rural India. We need to decentralize our industrial activity. Then skilling of the worker. Yes, we have come up with the National Skill Mission and Kaushal Vikas Yojana, but we need to prepare our workforce for the Industry 4.0, for artificial intelligence, for the deep learning, for the data analytics, whatever the demand of the market will be there in the future. Next is about the diversification of jobs. We need to generate more and more jobs with respect to the sunrise sector. Like all the economies are transitioning from the fossil fuel based economy to the renewable sources of energy. So we need to provide them opportunities in these sunrise sectors. Like in budget 2024-25, government has come up with the new job creation under this particular scheme, that is Suryodaya Yojana. In this, like sunrise sector, like rooftop power generation, manufacturing of the solar power module, etc. Next is about, we need to emphasize more on the labor intensive sector so that we can reap the benefits, we can reap the potential of demographic dividend in India, and due to the increasing population, we can put all those people into some sectors of economy so that to increase the GDP out of those people as well. So we need to implement recommendation from the Swaminathan Commission report 2006 to focus on the labor intensive sector. Next is about, we need to extend the scope of the governance, like we need to provide the disability benefits, maternity benefits, etc. under this particular act also, Unorganized Sector Act. Next is about, we need to strengthen the workers union like IFAT, Indian Federation of App-Based Transport Workers, so that they can advocate for their workers' right and welfare into this informal economy also. Moving on to the model answers, starting with some definition. See, this what we have already discussed in this particular question, that is not the explicit demand of the question. You can write these points wherever suits you, that you need to put some data. You can use this as a fodder for your mains material. Then this is the particular demand of the question. We need to write the challenges with respect to the informalization and how it hampers the Indian economic growth. And what you can write in the conclusion is that India is aiming to be the third largest economy till 2027 and the Viksit Bharat or the developed country by 2047. And due to this increasing informalization, this can be a major roadblock for that. So we need to take care of those. We need to boost our investment into the innovations, research and development, human skilling, education, gender disparities we need to remove, etc. So these can be the conclusion for this particular answer. So this was it from my side for today. Thank you and have a nice day and keep writing.